Alright guys, welcome back to another American Ninja Warrior video. Today we're reviewing another American Ninja Warrior review. Oh sorry, we're not doing that, that's too meta. We're just reviewing the episode itself, which is season 17 episode 2, which aired tonight or last night by the time I post this. But it was overall, I would say, a decent episode, with the one issue being the fact that it dragged a lot. It was dragon themed. It was sponsored by How to Train Your Dragon. It was like the sponsored episode of the season, and it's kind of appropriate that it was dragon themed because this episode was kind of dragging along. And I'm not just saying that for the pun, I promise. It actually did feel very long to me. It felt like it was 3 hours, not 2 hours. But hopefully this review will at least be quicker than last week, so we can make up for the fact that the episode was long by doing a quick review. So let's get started here and not waste time. I'm going to talk about the general course first, because the makeup of the course is interesting in the sense that, one, the course had more... Oh, not centered on. I don't know why. There we go. Now it's... Wait, no, now it's to the side. Okay, this better not fall. I'm going to be mad. Okay, I think that's better. Okay, but now the course, since they've started doing the whole COVID season thing with like staying in the same location, they started to keep 2 obstacles the same generally, like, and then change the other 2. But this time they only kept 1 the same. They changed the other 3, so that's an improvement for me because I like the course to change. So even though I wish the whole course changed, I'm pretty happy that they changed 3 out of 4 of the interchangeable ones, with 2, 3, and 5 all changing and 4 being the same. So that's kind of an improvement in a sense. The only thing that's kind of weird is the fact that there's still not 1 new obstacle, and I knew they were kind of towing the classic obstacle thing at the beginning of the season, so I had a feeling there'd be more returning obstacles, but I didn't think that would mean like only returning obstacles, and that makes me kind of nervous that we're not gonna have any, because 2 weeks and a lot of different obstacles later, we still don't have any new ones, just different returning ones. So I wish they'd do that, because I like the course to change like I did this week, but I really like to see new obstacles and new ideas. That's one of the main reasons I watched the show, so I really hope there's a couple at least. There's definitely not gonna be a lot, clearly, by the way they're showing it already. But I hope that they have 1 or 2, because we need some. I like the ninjas, and I like the obstacles I know, but we need some new stuff, you know? And the other thing I thought of was the fact that a lot of these obstacles aren't really OGs in my mind. But let's go through the course and I'll say it then. So the first obstacle is the quadriceps, unsurprisingly, like last week. It's fine, not too hard, but it's a good start. The second obstacle this time changed to the flywheels, kind of the Oklahoma City version, but it's second instead of third, so it's kind of different, but it's kind of an easy third obstacle, maybe a bit hard for second but easy for third, so it's fitting enough as a second obstacle. It's the Oklahoma City season 11 version where you have the 2 big wheels on the ends and the smaller one in the middle that's lower down. I'd say that version looks tougher, but I don't think it's too tough, and most people made it through this, at least most people they showed, so it wasn't too hard of an obstacle. It was decent, not exciting exactly to watch, but it was fine. The third obstacle was Log Runner, which was very lethal this time. It always is pretty tough, but this time it seemed especially like kind of the main focus, or one of the main focuses of obstacles. It was very tough. You saw a lot of people tripping, especially on the last log. A lot of saves this time, but also just a lot of people falling in general. And a lot more, kind of like last week, a lot of surprising balance fails overall, which we'll get to. But yeah. And this debuted in season 7, it came back in season 8, and also in some later seasons, I believe, like for split decision. So it's kind of a retro obstacle, but not that much. Same with the flywheels, because flywheels began in season 8. That's not too retro in my opinion, but I guess it has been almost 10 years since season 8, so maybe it's just me thinking that's more recent, but it's actually a long time ago. Because I don't like to admit that 2016 was like almost 10 years ago. Oh, that's crazy. I say that every week when I film one of these videos, but the time of the show, like when I think about stuff like that, is crazy to me. Then obstacle 4 is spin cycle again. It's fine. It's kind of starting to feel redundant because no one seems to fail it. At least no one in the show fails it, but it's fine. And the 5th obstacle is the Ferris wheels, which is really not a throwback obstacle in my opinion because it debuted in season 11, returned in season 12, and maybe another one, but I think it's just 11, 12, and now 17. And it's basically where the 2 wheels, you can either climb over them or climb under it. Climbing over it's more efficient, but you have the big drops to deal with, and under it is more moves, but you don't have to drop. So it's kind of like a choice, which I like that idea of the choice. And it also has those swing wing nut type of grips, like the small wing nuts, not that you have to shake on, but just small wing nuts that swing around. They're kind of tricky grips. I would have maybe changed those to something else. If they bring back so many of the same obstacles again, I would maybe change the grips on the Ferris wheel to something different, just to have a little change, like maybe rings or a cannonball or 2, I don't know, something like that, just to make it different. They don't really modify obstacles in that way usually, but that'd be a good way to mix it up without having a full new obstacle, so I wish they did that. Sorry, my hair looks asymmetrical, which is why I keep messing with it. And then the warped wall is a warped wall. It was fine. The mega wall, you have to get there in a minute, like last week, obviously. That didn't change. But I don't say it should have changed, at least the time limit, because this course was a lot more This course of the Ferris wheels last week was a battering ram. The Ferris wheel seems to take a lot longer than the battering ram, so getting under a minute was a lot tougher this week. And you saw a lot of really fast runs this week that still didn't make the mega wall. So that's kind of, it goes to show that it's uneven. And I don't like complaining about the course changing, because that's something I like about the shows, that the course changes. But it's kind of weird when you have this rule. And usually I say it doesn't matter, because like each week is its own field, so it doesn't really matter if, you know, it's the same people competing on the same course, just in different fields. But this time it's kind of like, some people do get the short end of the stick of getting a harder course to get a minute to the mega wall. So it doesn't really matter to me, but that is something notable. So yeah. Then, okay, let's get to the competitors. 5.5 minutes. We're already into this review. But okay, the first competitor is Max Manson. He's a rocket scientist and pole vaulter. He's 23, so I have one more year to get to that level before I'm officially behind him. That's the thing about watching the show now. Most people are, or a lot of people are younger than me or close to my age, so it's like, wow. But he had a good run. He had a good save. He had a really cool save on the log runner, because he fell under twice. And he fell on the third log, grabbed the fourth, saved it on the fourth, then did the same thing on the fifth. So we've seen a lot of fails on this obstacle before and later in this episode. But this was a double fail, which is kind of cool. My dad and I both thought he was out, but he did it. He saved it. And then he almost cleared the whole course, but he failed the last drop of the Ferris wheel, which is another common spot to fail. So yeah, pretty good run. Then, unfortunately, I didn't get the next competitor's name, because I was talking what happened, and I don't know how to go back, because my dad recorded this on Hulu, and I don't know how to use Hulu that much, so I don't really know. So, unfortunately, it says second girl on my paper here. But the second girl, she had the story that she got promoted at her job recently. She's like a customer service now, which is good. And she had a fast run across the log runner. Compared to the first run, it was a very, like, blink and you'll miss it run on the log runner. And she also failed the same spot at the Ferris wheel. So that's, as I said, a very common theme. It's interesting that they put two of those Ferris wheel fails back to back, because they don't usually do like the same obstacle fail twice in a row near the start. But that's a good way to mix it up, I guess. So I'm not complaining. That was interesting. I was surprised. But I like how they did both their stories. Kind of like last week, they were very quick for both the first two competitors. Both the stories were very quick, and we got through it quickly. I like that. I like the way they're doing stories this year. That's one thing they definitely improved on. So I approve. Then they went to commercial, came back with a fast forward with this guy called the Lyme Ninja. He has Lyme disease. And what's interesting about this is that I saw this guy, like I just saw this guy's channel on YouTube like randomly, because I was looking at Ninja Warrior videos and got suggested. It was him doing some like crazy, like, I don't even know what it was, something at a gym with like a tough obstacle he made. But it was weird to see, because I was like, oh, I know that, because I saw the name Lyme Ninja and then I heard it on the show. So it's kind of funny, because I just saw him. I was gonna not talk about fast forwards anymore to make these videos a bit shorter, but then I saw this guy and I was like, I have to include it. But starting this week, I'm gonna not do all the fast forwards, because it takes too long for this video. But I did mention that because it was kind of interesting to me. But yeah, he failed the Ferris wheel as well. You're starting to see a common theme here. A lot of people failed the Ferris wheel, and I say failed the Ferris wheel every time and mess it up every time, because I have a bad enunciation. Failed the Ferris wheel. There we go. We should say FW, so I don't have that tongue twister. But then we have Megan Rowe, who I remember from before, I think she competed in previous seasons, like earlier, like 2019 and stuff, back when I watched it originally. She had a shirt that said Joy Through the Chaos, which represents her recovery from being injured for a couple of years and being, continuing to compete and continuing to stay positive through it. It sounds kind of like one of those things like Live, Laugh, Love, like kind of one of those typical, like, middle-aged lady shirts to wear. But it's a good model. And sometimes you have to have that when stuff is like crazy and all that. So I appreciate that quote. And yeah, very good recovery. And she went under the Ferris wheel. So most people went over. I think everyone before us went over. But she went under the wheel, which I honestly think is a better move, even though most people don't do it. Because it's not that many more moves, and you avoid the drop, which is really tough. So I think going under the wheel is often the right move, especially if you don't have that much pull-up strength left. You guys go under. And yeah, she cleared the obstacle with that, and she cleared the whole course with that. And I was very surprised that they showed her clearing this early, especially because they usually save like the women who clear for later on in the episode. So I was very surprised, but later on we're gonna find out why they showed a woman clearing so early. But yeah, that was a very good run, a very good comeback story, so that's good. Then we had Nate Hansen and John Mack in a fast forward, and basically the whole thing was that they were the shortest and tallest competitors. But even despite their huge difference in height, they both failed the same spot of log runner, even failed the last log, so they had the same result. Doesn't matter how tall you are, the log runner will get you. Unless you're 5'11" and a half like me, then you can be fine on the log runner. Then we had Derek Nakamoto, which was a crazy comeback because I remember him being in season 4 when I first started watching, and I even remember on the Sasuke forums I used to be on, people speculated like where he went because he was such a big fan and he like left. So it's kind of funny seeing him back now. Those people are probably like, oh, there he is. Well, they're probably not watching anymore. But if they are, they're probably like, oh, there's Derek Nakamoto. And I was like that too because I had no idea he was coming back. So that was a cool like throwback. And unfortunately, he failed the log runner. So he kind of had the same result as most people so far have talked about. Hopefully he'll come back again because it's good to see season 4 people because that's like my OG season. So I like seeing all the season 4 guys back. Sounds cool. Unfortunately, it didn't last very long. Then we had Mason Thames. Oh, he was the guy from the movie that they're sponsoring. Mason Thames was in the booth. That was kind of like their main element of the sponsors. They had him commentate on a run. I feel like they should have added an obstacle this week to go with the Dragons, mainly because I want to do obstacle, but also just I feel like they should have added something to kind of represent the Dragons better, because it was kind of empty of like, it didn't really have that much theming aside from this guy being in the booth. So they should have made something like, they should have at least brought back the Dragons back obstacle, something that actually ties into the Dragon thing, not just like talking about it. It's weird. They decorated the flywheels with like shields and stuff, but that really didn't do anything. You didn't see it most of the time. So, and yeah, they had Mason, the guy from the movie, do commentary on a run. It was very general, like, oh, this looks harder in person, that type of thing. You know, obviously they have to do that. But I wish they did something more like special for the sponsorship, but it's whatever. But anyway, he commentated on this guy named Trent Linsler, who was dressed as a knight. So I guess they did that for like, well, not did that, but they had him commentate that one for like the tie-in of like kind of a medieval dragon type of thing. He was dressed as a knight. He had a crash landing after a log runner where he landed on his back on the platform. And then he went under the Ferris wheel. And I was just starting to tell my dad, because we were watching it together, I was just starting to tell my dad that that's kind of a good move to go under the wheel instead of over. And I still think that. But as I said that, he kicked the water immediately and then fell off. He fell, but before that he kicked the water, so even if he didn't fall off the wheel itself, he still touched it. So maybe that's not a good move if you're a taller guy. But yeah, that was interesting to see someone kick the water while hanging from the obstacle. That hasn't happened recently. Because in the old days you have more of that with like the jump hang and kind of the lower obstacles, but that doesn't happen much now where they're hanging and they kick it. So that was interesting to see. They didn't really mention it, but I noticed. I don't miss these things. So yeah, then they had a fast forward with Devin Haar, who's a dentist, and at this point my sister came out and they were showing Matt and Akbar with like these different like dental props, and my sister said that the show looked like it jumped the shark with all like the little like gimmicks they do with the hosts, which I kind of agree with because they're trying to be all fun, and it's kind of like, I mean it was kind of fun at first when it was new, but now it's like they do it for everyone, so it's kind of like repetitive. But yeah, so that was funny. And then immediately she said that they failed, the guy failed the quad steps, so that was unfortunate and kind of proved, she was like, oh, this show's gotten kind of embarrassing. And they failed the quad steps, so it happens, but it was kind of funny timing for our conversation. Then they did a profile of Nick Hansen and Forrest Streak. And the funny thing is, when I saw the night guy, the Trent Linsler guy, I thought he was Nick Hansen because they look kind of similar. Then I saw Nick Hansen himself a few runs later here. It was weird. So at first I thought Trent was Nick because they look similar to me. But I also have a bad facial recognition, so I don't know. But they showed Nick Hansen, they showed his story about like teaching kids about Alaska and the state's history and all that. So that was a cool story. And Akbar also went up there to visit, and Akbar and his kids like went on a hike with him, so that's cool. And they didn't show Nate Hansen yet, but they showed Forrest Streak, who's also trains with him and from Alaska. And he had a crash landing on the log runner, which is a very common theme here, and he failed the first Ferris wheel drop. So that's another run that illustrates the two hardest obstacles on the course on the log runner and the Ferris wheel. That's really what most of the runs were tonight. Like that's basically it. The flywheels and the spin cycle didn't do much damage, but the other two were like a bloodbath. So Forrest fell there. He did not run Forrest run. He fell. Forrest fell, unfortunately, but he had a decent run. Then the fast forward of Curtis Tran, who apparently is another returning competitor. I don't really remember, but he unfortunately failed the second obstacle. He was swinging and he hit his head on the second wheel. As soon as he jumped off the first wheel, I could tell he was going way too far. And you guys tell it was like too much momentum, especially because the second wheel's lower. So you have extra height, extra altitude going down. So he smacked his face on it. He was fine, but that looked painful. And that's unfortunate. And Alan Connealy, who I do remember, also came back and he also failed the flywheel. Just didn't really have technique, and he didn't grab it the right way, so he failed there too. Then we had David Campbell. I like that they point out he's the only competitor in every season. In the past, they've kind of tried to like get rid of him even by not inviting him back. So I appreciate that they gave him the respect of being like a mention that he's been in every season. That was cool. And they show he's not a father, which I didn't realize, but that's also really cool. So he has a baby now, and he ran the course. He was on the Ferris wheel. He tried to get like one hand on two different grips and try to like jump it, and it wasn't working. He didn't have enough momentum, so that was unfortunate. But he was able to get it down and get through the course and clear. And he said like, oh, it's less stress now because I'm mostly focused on my kids, so anything else is just kind of like whatever, which is a good perspective. And yeah, he cleared the course, still doing well 15 years later. And then they did something that I don't like. It's kind of a pet peeve, or now it's a pet peeve after this episode, but they told him to hit the buzzer again, which to me, I don't know, I'm very like strict about this type of thing, but like to me, you should hit the buzzer once. It's kind of like a symbolic thing. You don't just hit it like randomly. Again, like no one else cares, I know, but that's just my mindset. And also in the Team Ninja Warrior, when people lost a race and still hit the buzzer, I always thought that was dumb. Or if they ran out of time on stage 1, they'd hit it. It's like, don't. That's only for a clear. Come on now. I don't like that. That's just my pet peeve. But again, it's a show making them. It's not them even doing it themselves. So yeah, but that's just one of those things I don't like about new A&W. Again, gimmicks, jumping the shark. Just no need. But yeah, he hit the buzzer twice, and he had a really good run. It was good to see him back. Then they showed, unfortunately, a tribute to his training partner, Vincent Payne, who got invited to the show, but he unfortunately, while he was doing rock climbing, he was in an accident and he passed away. That's really tough, and you know this stuff can be dangerous, and yes, but it's really, when you see something like that, it's very like you think about it, because like it could happen. It happens, and it's really sad, but. Yeah, he got invited to the show. I think he'd been on it a couple times before, but unfortunately, I think it was late last year he passed away in that. So yeah, that was sad. Then they had Lauren Ball, who's another person that used to be on like every season consecutively, but I think he missed a couple seasons somewhere in there in the past few years. So now he's no longer perfect attendance, but he's still a very solid, reliable competitor. Except not on the course because he goes too fast, but like in terms of attendance. But they did fast forward of him. He had a good save on the log runner. He hit the buzzer twice. Don't like that. But again, they told him to. Then they also fast forward Donovan Matoyer, who had the fastest time up to that point with a clear. So both Lauren and Donovan cleared the course, which was cool to see, even though they fast forwarded them. So good for them. That was a good little segment. Then they did something on this YouTube channel called Ninja Kids TV, which apparently is very popular. I think I've seen it in my little suggested bar before, which makes sense because I watch some ninja stuff, or even when I'm editing my channel, I'll see that recommended. Because obviously we're very similar in channel size and popularity. But yeah, that's cool. Apparently they have 40 million subscribers, which is really, I think, really good. Like I think Mr. Beast, I mean, he has many more than that, but it's the same like order of magnitude as Mr. Beast, so that's pretty good. At least millions to millions. I don't know. Mr. Beast probably has, I think, a few hundred million, but that's not bad. I'm surprised I haven't seen more of them actually. But yeah, that was cool. The little graphic they showed said 987 million subscribers, which is weird because it was actually 40. But they like to do that where they show like the inflated thing. They've done that before with like their other viral videos. They make it seem like it has more views than it does, which is weird. But either way, 40 million is impressive. So yeah, very impressive. 40 million views. And then they showed Ashton Miley, who's one of the 4 ninja kids, even though I thought he was older than me just by looks. But apparently, maybe he was younger and now he's like an adult, but he was a ninja kid at the start, I don't know. But either way, he cleared the course. He went very fast. He linked the spin cycle, so he did from one to the next without stopping, which is very impressive. I'm still trying to learn how to link stuff. And then he hit the buzzer twice, which is not very impressive. And I'm still trying to learn how to skip that part. Nah, I don't really care, but I don't like that type of thing, as I've pointed out already. Then they showed Nick Hansen. They showed us Peace earlier, but now they showed him himself. And they showed how he flipped over the last log, but he was able to catch it. It was kind of a close call, but he was able to catch it. And then he really struggled. He had to like get up kind of like a plank position on the last 2 logs and launch himself to the platform, which is very cool. We've seen it a lot now, so it's less like novel than it used to be, but still impressive to see. It takes a lot of core strength and just a lot of grit to get up there, especially because you have to hang and you have to get your legs up over the previous log. Then you gotta get your body up. That's a very tough shit save. But we see it a lot now because like a lot of people fell in that same spot. So yeah, but it's still cool. Then something interesting was he went high on the first Ferris wheel and low on the second. I think that's the only one where they like changed approaches midway through. Most people went over completely, or a few went under completely, but I think he's the only one that went over then under. But he unfortunately failed when he was going under the second wheel. He failed it. I think he lost his grip. He was close, but he couldn't make dismount. Well, he couldn't even start swinging for a dismount, so he missed. So yeah. Then we had Ken Lebsack, who they said he had 99 obstacle streak, which I don't know how they quantify that. They might have meant in the kids version, or maybe the kids version going into when he joined the adult version. I don't really know, because I'm trying to think. I think each season you have, like season 13 when he started was 6 obstacles qualifying, 10 obstacles finals, 16. Vegas stage 1 was 8, 24. Stage 2 was like 40, 38, and stage 3 I think had 45 to 46. So I guess they counted 13 and 14 together, but to me stage 4 is an obstacle and he failed stage 4, so it wasn't really a 9 obstacle streak. But I'm guessing they don't count stage 4 because it's like he didn't fall in the water, so they didn't count as a fail. But technically it does. But I don't know. But I'm curious how they quantified that or how they got that number. I'm also curious if we'll ever see a 100 obstacle streak. Probably not, because I don't know how much the show has left. But either way, the 99 streak is impressive, even if they are kind of getting stage 4 wrong. So yeah. And then he had an extremely fast run on the course. He went really fast on spin cycle. He linked like Nick Hansen did. And he also cleared the Ferris wheels very quickly. And he still missed the mega wall, which goes to prove the point that this course is a lot harder to optimize. It's less conducive to speed than last week, especially because you have the Ferris wheel instead of the battering ram. So yeah, that's kind of, if he was on last week's course, he probably would have made it under a minute pretty comfortably, but he did not. So that's unfortunate. But he still cleared the course, so whatever. Then we had fast forward to Violet Capote, who fell on the warped wall, which is rare these days. And I'm surprised they skipped it, because usually a woman making it to warped wall is pretty like they want to show that. So I was like, why did they skip that? And I kind of wish they show it, because a warped wall fail is different. That might be the only warped wall fail of the season, at least like 1 or 2 maybe, because like that's a rare thing these days. So I wish they showed that just for something different, kind of like the quad steps fails. They're rare enough that's like, why not show 1 or 2 just to mix it up? So yeah. So I was surprised they cut that. But then the next run, they showed Annabella Heinrichs, who's a deep sea diver, which looks scary. She's going with the sharks and stuff. And she said as long as you don't disturb them, they'll kind of leave you alone, which I'd like to believe, but I still probably won't do the deep sea diving anytime soon. But it looks scary. It looks very cool, but I'll look at the videos probably, not even do it myself. But that's a very cool thing. And before she started running, I made a prediction in my head. I didn't say it out loud, but I predicted that she would clear the course, purely because the Violet that they skipped over made it to a warp wall, and they skipped over her. So if they skipped over her, they wouldn't immediately show someone worse, I believe. Especially because we didn't really notice Annabella Heinrichs, at least I didn't. So I had a feeling that if they immediately showed her following a successful female run, that she'd clear, and she did. I was right. That's a long-winded way to say I was right. But she cleared the course, and yeah, I guess that's very, very interesting, because I don't really know her, or I haven't seen her before, but she did well. Then they did a fast forward of Tyler Rizzo, who apparently, the name sounded a tiny bit familiar. I don't know if I'm even remembering it or not, but he made the barrel roll in season 11 in 2019. So they said it's like a full circle moment, going from him making an obstacle in the obstacle design challenge. He was like a winner of the obstacle design challenge, to now getting on the show himself. So that's pretty cool. And that's a good way to get your foot in the door too, because you can say like, oh, I'm from the obstacle design challenge, and then they'll want you for the story. But he also has very good ninja skills as well. He's able to clear the course, and yeah, he cleared. I don't have more info. He cleared, but that was a cool run. That was a cool like little connection. One thing though, that they have like so many well-established people, and the show's been going on so long, is they have a lot of like things like that with like, oh, this guy used to be an obstacle design. He designed an obstacle. Now he's on the show. Or he used to be watching his parents compete, now he's competing. There's a lot of that now, kind of like more connections, because the show's been going on for a while, which is pretty interesting. I kind of like that. Then we had Sanya Zimmerman, who was also a 2019. I think she didn't start in 2019, but she became successful then, and she became kind of like a known quantity on the show then. They said she wrote a book called Get Out of the Car, which described how she was afraid to get out of the car to go to her ninja competition, which I get. Like the stress or the anxiety about going to it. For me, I have the same problem with getting out of my car to go there, but just because of the traffic that there's been the past few times I've gone to a competition, as I've discussed in the videos. So yeah, I could write that book myself, but just describing the different traffic on the road. But yeah, that sounds like a good story. And unfortunately, she failed the log runner. She's had a couple of early exits after her good season in season 11, so that's a shame. but she always does well, and she always trains consistently, so I'm sure she'll be back and hopefully do more successfully next season. But the log runner this time was just brutal. A lot of well-established names failed the log runner. Then they have Bailey Beckstrand, who's siblings of Kai Beckstrand and his brother, whose name I don't remember right now, unfortunately, and also her parents were on the show as well. So basically the story was that she had to keep the family name going after all her family members did it, and I believe her dad and 2 brothers cleared. She wanted to keep that going and get a clear for the girls. She's extremely close to the log runner. When she made it through a log runner, she didn't like fall into the 4th log like most people, but instead she fell to a platform, and she was like clinging to the platform. Her feet were very close to the water. She was clinging to the platform with like her arms, and she had to pull herself up. That was a very close that was very close to touching the water, but she didn't. So that's good. That was a cool clear, because there's a lot of log runner saves in this episode, honestly, but that one was different. And she failed the second Ferris wheel drop. I thought she might make it for a second, especially because they showed her after the other women that made it, but she just missed it. But she was close. Then they had Colin Schuster, who's the one from the frat, and he was the fastest one of the night. He got 52.08 seconds. He went very fast, the only one to make the mega wall tonight. And unfortunately, this was another not very good mega wall attempt. I'd be willing to believe that they changed something about the mega wall because no one's getting close at all on it. Or maybe it's because they're so winded from running the course in under a minute that they can't do the mega wall. Because I think they pretty much go from hitting the buzzer right to the mega wall, unless they do like an editing jump. But I think it is actually like right after they finish the run. So they're definitely tired from the actual run, and maybe that's why they keep missing. But like these are ones where I feel like I would do about the same as them, which is I have no expectation of ever making out the mega wall, but I feel like I could do how these people have been doing. So I don't know, that's weird, because these people are really good. So I think something is definitely different if like 5 people have done that, but I don't know. But either way, he had a very good run, and he's top of the leaderboard, so that's really impressive. Then the final runner of the night is Katie Bone, who she had a very bad climbing injury. Apparently she competed before, maybe in the seasons I wasn't watching for, because I don't really remember. But she basically said how recovery's been very tough, and they showed her falling off the rock wall. It looked very painful. It's kind of like the injury that Drew had in Japan in season 3. At least it looked the same to me, which again, not to mention Drew, but I think it was a very similar injury. And yeah, she said recovery is really tough. It showed her doing like the steps on the box to get her mobility back and get the muscle back into training. Because when you don't train for that long, it's tough to recover it, obviously. So they mentioned when she was running that the record for clears is 3 women, which I forgot there was ever 3 women that cleared in the same episode, but that was in Philadelphia season 10. Now I remember it, but I thought it was 2. So I was like, the whole episode I thought that they were gonna break the record, but they actually tied it because she cleared the course. She cleared the wall on her second attempt, which is kind of interesting, but still very, very good. And she helped tie the record from 7 years ago and get 3 women up the warp wall. It very well could have been 4 if Violet made up the warp wall, but she just missed. So I'm sure they were really sad they didn't get 4, because I know they want to have like a history's been made type of thing, but they didn't. But they still tied history, so you can't complain too much about that. So that's pretty good. I think the comparative pool is smaller than it used to be in season 10 when they previously got the record. So the ratio of women clears is probably still higher. So still very impressive. And yeah. So overall, this episode was not bad at all. Like I said, it kind of dragged a little bit and dragoned a little bit. And it could definitely use a new obstacle or two to make it more like, to give more life to it. And I really hope next week the spin cycle is gone. Because as I said, I like that they changed most of the course. But I can still definitely live with getting rid of the spin cycle because it's kind of getting too easy. Or at least, you know, showing won't fail it. So it's kind of like, you know, it's kind of like an empty space, but you see it every run. So it's kind of, it feels redundant, like I said, basically. But, and the flywheels is kind of boring, but they might have it next week because it wasn't there last week. I don't know. I don't really like the log grip or the flywheels. So whatever they do, I'm probably going to be like, But hopefully they'll do something decent next week. Maybe a new obstacle, at least some different obstacles. Again, hopefully it's not like back to week 1 course or like a mix of weeks 1 and 2. I want some different stuff. I think I saw Crank It Up in the trailer, so hopefully that will come soon, even though that's kind of also overused. But yeah, we'll see what happens, guys. Thank you for watching the review. Sorry, my voice is like dry, so I know I've been kind of like hoarse sounding probably, or just like running my words together, which I always kind of do. But sorry if it sounds worse today even. I don't know what to do. Hopefully the captions will transcribe it well and not just make like another language, because I know right now I don't sound very good. But yeah, anyway guys, thank you for watching. Again, sorry about the, it sounds like I swallowed like a bunch of coal or something. I don't know why. I think it's because I've been like, I ran today and I was like talking a lot today, so I think that's why. And just going for 30 minutes like this is hard to like for me to keep talking. But thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. I'll see you next time. Peace out.